Are live. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining from the world. Hi, my name is Jeff, and we are live. Um, Hopefully, you guys can hear me. Give me a one if you can hear me loud and clear, and let's take it up from here. Let me know if you guys can hear me loud and clear. I want to see. Let me know if you guys can hear me loud and clear. Okay, let's do this, guys. Awesome, 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 awesome. So again, this is my name is Jeff in Malabar, and today we'll be do more of a Q&A section, um, where you guys can have the opportunity to ask me anything you have as regards the real estate market, and any questions you have. This is your opportunity to ask me any questions you may have. Let me know if my audio is audible enough. Let me do and make sure you guys can hear me and. Um, Just a second now. Okay. Let me do and make sure. Okay. I think we're audible enough. So if you can hear me, give me a one on the chat. Just a second now. Okay, guys. Let's do this. Dear Lord. All right, guys. So I'm going to be monitoring other channels. If you see me look away from the screen, it's just because I'm trying to monitor other channels. That way, you to be sure that we are very audible, and the audio is great enough. So, real estate market, a lot has been happening. Recently, we've seen reports coming in from the U.S. Uh, data-driven centers, especially reports about one, we've seen inventory hitting the market. We've noticed a lot of inventories. Property just sitting idle. The latest report from the CBC news this morning is so many condos are sitting in the market. Let me just do this. Share my screen, and we'll play a little bit of that video before we come back, and then give others opportunity to join uh this live. Okay, give me a second. Let's just do this right now. Entire screen. Okay. So this is the report we are having. Um, yeah, entire screen. Okay. Entire screen. Okay. Entire screen. Okay. Entire screen. Okay. So this is a reality on what we're experiencing today. It's the reality on the market, and that just tells you what is happening with the real estate sector. Now, for those of you who are here in the US, you'll be wondering, why is all these listings, why are they hitting the market? Why are we experiencing all this inventory? Well, the reality is we are currently switching from a seller's market, gravitating into a buyer's market. Now, as we gravitate from sellers into buyer's market, we are hit up with a lot of inventories in the market, and that's what's creating this huge storm. Guys, if you're just tuning in, let me know where you're watching in from the world. Leave your comments on the chat. Let's see if I can monitor those comments, and let me know where you're tuning in so that I'll be able to acknowledge you. Okay, let me pull up the chat. Lois Brown. Hey Lois, where you tuning in from? Let me know where you're tuning in from. Sorry, I'm trying to monitor all of these all of the various screens. Let me know where you're tuning in from. It's more of a Q&A section where you get to ask questions. Let me know your thoughts about the real estate markets. What are your doubts? What are your fears? Let's just rub minds together. Let's understand what is going on with your thoughts. Is your worries, number one, worries of how you get access to funding? Or are you dealing with a low credit score and your thinking is, okay, I need to boost up my credit score to a level where it makes sense within the 700? Because anything you see online, let me be very clear about this right now. I'm going to share you guys to some hidden secrets right now. Anything you see online and you hear in influencers telling you that you can actually, you can get 50,000 to $100,000 to fund your LLC. Listen carefully. You need a minimum of 700 plus credit score. They don't tell you those on Instagram because they don't want you to know that's the bottleneck. The reality is you need to have that level of credit score to qualify for funding. So fundings from other players is not, just name it. You can go to all these banks once your credit score is good. So for us as investors, if you don't have access to high credit score, then you want to be able to build that up slowly and gradually. And that's some of the things we give our investors basically for free here. We'll let you know the roadmap, how to do it, what are the steps to take. So if your challenge is funding, hi, Bullock's Fruits, where are you coming in from? You said Sahura. Where is this though? What's sorry, let me know where in the world that is. And what is the zip code? Same thing with Lois as well. So, guys, listen carefully. Number one, if your challenge is getting access to funding, we've resolved that issue. Why? Because we've understood the process you can utilize to get access to free funding. I mean, the funds are out there. The banks are willing to give you these funds. Your goal is to understand how do you strategically position yourself to access those funds. So if you have access to funding, the next goal will be, okay, how do I identify discounted properties that already have cash flowing with built-in equity and zero risk, because you want to go into a deal with zero risk. And that's the goal we're looking at for all investors. So basically, we know that housing is a key requirement for all humans. So having a place to live is not even a question at all. It's a sure bet. And so, give me a second, guys. Let me make sure this guy is fully kidding. And so, having that in mind, that tells you that at every point in time, your ability to be able to gain access to funding is non-negotiable. And so that's one of the things you're looking at for. So number two will be, if you are thinking, okay, I have funding, or I have a good credit score, or I have access to funds, how do I find the right deals? That's a whole different conversation. And that's where we have tools like Invest Fusion help you identify those hidden gems, guys, those gems in the market. Now, if you go online right now, all the listings you have out there, you have listings can come in from Zillow, from Crexi, from LoopNet, just name it. All these listing platforms only give you the vanilla approach to finding properties. No other tool out there helps you understand hidden red flags. There is no tool out there. From my experience, let me give you a quick background, guys. This is not about me. If you're watching right now, you're tuning in. I'm trying to connect all multiple screens. Let me know where you're tuning in from. Number one. Number two, ask your questions about real estate. What are your challenges? What are your roadblocks? What do you see as potential bottlenecks that you want to have resolved? Let's discuss this together and let's fine tune an approach to resolution. So, if your goal basically is one, to identify potential properties, you are in flock because we've had a tool now that can help us identify these hidden gems wherever they are hidden, and then help you recover those hidden gems so you can get properties that are 30, 40, 50, even 90. We've seen a property last week 90.01% below the market, guys, and that is only possible through Invest Fusion. Before now, it's almost impossible. Even with my vast knowledge of the market, it's almost impossible for me as an investor to identify a property 90% below the market. Of course, there is no tool, not even Zillow, Craigslist, LoopNet can give you that kind of an access, and that's what you have here with utilizing tools like InvestFusion. So again, Lois, and those who are watching Bullock's Fruit, let me know where you're tuning in from the world. Let me know what questions you have. I'm going to take some questions that came into my Facebook platform, and then we can discuss that as well. So the first question I have that came in here says, this is from Tom. And what Tom asks is, how am I sure I can use AI to find discounted properties that are 30% below the market, as you mentioned, using InvestFusion? Now, that's a great question. Why is that a great question? Number one is, why was InvestFusion created? Why did we go the extra mile to create InvestFusion? Let me tell you my story. Not too long ago, I found a deal on Zillow, which we all use Zillow to find discounted properties. And then I found this property on Zillow, which is a multi-family duplex. Now, from the listing description, there was nothing wrong with that property. The listing broker never disclosed any information as to the property's condition, either if it has any structural damage, foundation issues, foggy windows, electrical issues. Nothing was disclosed in the listing description itself. Now, I went in to physically inspect this property with my broker. We did our physical inspection. Again, to the naked eye, everything looks great. But upon going into contract, which means I paid $5,000 for my due diligence fee, I paid another $5,000 for my earnest money deposit, and then I paid $625 for my inspection fee and $525 for my appraisal fee, totaling over $11,000. After making these payments, upon the period of due diligence period, we realized that this property had structural damage, had major foundation issues, had electrical problems, had what they call water leakage on the roof, and they claim to have resolved the roof issues. So you have major big ticket items. Then we have window issues, where issues to do with the foggy windows. So all of these big ticket items were issues that are no in real estate. Why? It's going to cost you an arm and a leg. And so what I did, the extra effort I did, was to speak to a general contractor and ask, what will it cost me to resolve these major issues with this property? Guess what? A minimum of $50,000. And so I had to pull out of that deal. But the problem is, this same property was relisted on Zillow. Guess what, guys? Listen carefully to this. This same property was relisted on Zillow, and the seller, including the listing broker, refused to list all of those material facts. Meaning, a lot of you watching this right now, go on Zillow, go on Craigslist, go on LoopNet, and you think the property you're looking at is a good deal. I spent over $11,000 just understanding and identifying the major issues with the property, which they relisted and refused to disclose material facts. And that was why we created InvestFusion. Why? Because InvestFusion in my home, without me spending $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, even $10,000, it will identify these hidden red flags in this property and prevent me from spending that hard-earned money to lose my funds on those kind of a property. And that's the power of InvestFusion. So it's designed for both beginners and seasoned investors to identify potential red flags in the market, to prevent you from accruing huge losses that no other platform. Listen, you have the option of going to Zillow, going to Craigslist, going to LoopNet. All you have is nothing but potential description of the properties. No other tool out there lets you identify red flags in those property. So in terms of a breakdown, InvestFusion wants track down any hidden red flags. That is one. Number two, it tracks down zoning violations. It tracks also any potential issue with the appraisal report. So, for example, it looks at the previous appraisal report to validate the current actual value of the property plus the actual living square footage. Now, in the appraisal report, you have access to the square footage, the living square footage. Now, what InvestFusion does is look at the previous appraisal report to validate the true accuracy of the living square footage that is listed by the listing broker, preventing you from accruing losses. But it goes more than this. For those who are into commercial property, InvestFusion looks at the tenant's financial history. So it looks at your current existing tenants for a property you are looking at purchasing and reads through all that property, identifies the tenant's 5-year paying history to understand and see how profitable is this tenant. Would they be able to pay your rent, because then you're the owner, pay your rent when it is due? Are they financially worthy? That's what InvestFusion tracks, and it spits this out in a single dashboard and shows you all of this within it. I mean, clearly for you to understand if these properties are worth, or these tenants are worth keeping as a tenant. And so you get to understand this. It gets to read that data for you. Besides that, it gives you its own recommendation, what they call an AI-driven score. So InvestFusion gives you its own score and lets you know where it sees this property based on a profitable benchmark. So it also understands, one, if you take out loan from, say, you take out credit, yes, financing, InvestFusion tracks that financing and look at the cost of your loan. So it collates all your total expenses, compare it to your potential profit, and lets you know your cash flow opportunity. So once it does that calculation for you, it helps you identify if it's what's going ahead with the deal or if it's not what going ahead with the deal. So you know if you're going to be profitable from day one. All of this you are doing from the comfort of your home without spending a dime, without risking your hard-earned money. That's the difference, guys. And so what we've seen in the market recently has been an upsurge of inventory in the market from across the US, from Florida to North Carolina here to Georgia. We've seen a huge spill of inventory hitting the markets. Houses are sitting down on listing brokers, MLS listings, Zillows for months and months and months. And what is happening is pushing the seller to begin to reduce price, therefore qualifying as motivated sellers. However, we are still dealing with a high mortgage, with a high interest rates. Rates are currently touching the 7% mark. At that level, it doesn't make sense right now. Why is that so? Because it's going to cost you an arm and a leg to get into profit territory. And that's why you want to get deals that are below market deals that come high rates and then gives you access to cash flow properties that can make sense when you go in as an investor. And that's why we utilize this kind of a tool. Why? Because it helps us identify all these potential red flags. So for you who's watching right now, you'll be asking yourself, what is the next step? What am I supposed to do differently? How do I get started? What am I supposed to do next? And that's what we do. First of all, you have to understand where you are, because everybody's situation is different. Your first situation will be, maybe you're dealing with access to cash. If that is not a problem, that's even a much easier solution. So if you're not dealing with access to cash, if you're not dealing with, say, access to funding, then the next will be, how do I have, now if I have funding, how do I identify quality properties? How do I identify properties that are below the market? That's where InvestFusion comes in. Now, what is the next step? Once identify that, is to take action. And then, of course, taking action means you going ahead to get to pursue that deal by still doing your due diligence fee, your due diligence period, making sure you get that sorted out, getting your appraisal done, getting your inspection done, and all of that taken care of. Then you can confidently go ahead with that deal. With InvestFusion, it gives you a 10-foot overview of the potential property's condition to let you know if it's worth going ahead or not going ahead with that deal. And that's what is unique about tools like this. So in the market right now, looking at what the reports we've seen, it's been amazing. We've seen reports this morning of not just the housing crisis, but the huge inventory that is coming to the market. Like I said, we're moving from a seller's market into a buyer's market. Now, as we move into a buyer's market, you as a buyer must understand the strengths you have right now. Your strength to negotiate, your strength to find the right deal, your strength to sit on the sideline, your strength actually to renegotiate your own terms to the seller, because the days of a listing coming to the market and within days there are multiple bids on it, that's ridiculous. Those days are gone. That now it's your time. Now it's the buyer's own time to play the market and play it right. So let's see. I see a question coming on Facebook again. Thank you guys for joining in, for whoever you're tuning in from. If you're on Instagram, YouTube, again, let me know. Thanks for joining in. So let's take this question that's coming in. Let me just quickly give me a second, guys. Let me be able to pull up who is giving these questions, and then we can take it up from here. Okay, this is from James. James is asking. Okay, it says, "What is?" This is an interesting question. What is age receivables? That's a good question. So when we talk about age receivables, that's a very technical question. For those who are not, I'm sure he is not new to real estate. Age receivables is basically means tenant paying history. It's a document that helps you identify how the tenants have been paying their rent for commercial property. This is only exclusive for commercial properties. So it tracks the paying history of the tenants. And then what it does is to identify any gap in that pattern. One. Number two, it also looks at that age receivers also track what they call tenants with a potential lease term on it. So if you deal with government tenants they can put into those contracts basically a clause that makes them possible for them to get up and move away from the property itself, which is a no-no. So for us, we'll use InvestFusion to look at the age receivables and identify any deviation from the right pattern, which means if there is tenants that are not paying their rent regularly, InvestFusion is going to track that for us and let us know that that tenant is it doesn't mean you should not go ahead with the deal. What that means in essence is have a conversation with the tenant. Let's understand where they are financially. If you can basically renegotiate their lease term. So instead of a short lease term, I would recommend going for a longer lease term. That way you avoid the bottlenecks of them not paying on time when it's due. I hope that answers your question, James. But thanks for that question. That's a technical question. Age receivables is more driven towards the commercial property side of things. Thanks again. So, guys, keep your questions coming in. I will take my time to look at all the questions. Lois Brown, Blocks Fruits. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Let me know where you guys are tuning in from. Guys, still give me your questions. If you're on Instagram, if you're on Facebook, let's have your questions coming in, and then we can track those questions one by one. So I see a question coming in. This is from Stephanie. I hope I'm getting that right. She's saying that she is from, which state is this? MN. That should be Minnesota, I believe. Her question is, in my city, we have a lot of properties on the market for sale. These are for I'm assuming you're speaking about single family units. So your question is, in the single family unit, can InvestFusion help me find discounted property? Yes. So that's a good question. Absolutely. So for single family units, InvestFusion can help you identify potential properties that are 30-40% in that market, below the market, basically helping you find deals in a single family unit, which is more of a residential unit. But however, InvestFusion was designed specifically for multi-family units and commercial, so it's more robust in commercial property itself. But of course, you can use it to find discounted single family units that has built-in equity, and of course, properties that can potentially cash flow, because you want to have equity when you buy a property. And yes, Stephanie, it can help you find discounted properties in your own market as well. So all you have to do, guys, now let me go back to sharing my screen and walk you through for you who are new to InvestFusion. The first thing you want to do is to go in right now, because we've opened the door to only but a few investors. Now, this is the dashboard right now, and it gives you an overview of a property I just ran the steps on. This property is a commercial property. It's called Crystal Retail Center. And the first thing Investfusion does is to give you the financial matrix. So it lets you know, one, the price per square foot of this property, which is 106, the market. So it does a calculation of the entire market square footage and lets you know within that same zip code or that same area, what are the market price per square foot. So you want to get a property within an area where your own price per square foot must be lower. Of course, it has to be lower. Listen, I did a video some days ago that the banks want to buy low, sell high. That should be your own approach to any market. You want to be in the business of buying low and selling high to be profitable. You are not in the business to now buy a property that you are buying high at a high price and then you are ridiculously selling low. That's not going to work for you. So again, only Investfusion gives you access to this kind of a dashboard. Look at the first thing he does. So for you, Stephanie, this also answers your question. In your area, your zip code, wherever you're tuning in from, wherever you are in the US, Investfusion can help you break down properties that are in your own zip code, location, state, or whatever you. So it tracks the price per square foot. It calculates the market price per square foot because it wants to give you properties that is lower than the market price per square foot. So if every other property within this zip code is still going for 350, it has identified one property that the price per square foot is 106.96. The net operating income, meaning because this is a commercial property, is letting you understand how much cash flow this property is currently producing. It says $263,253. For the price of the property is just shy of $3 million. The cap rate is 8.79% cap rate. Cap rate is kind of interesting because right now that we're dealing with high interest rates, you want to get a cap rate of 8% or above, giving you some cushioning because of the higher rate that we're dealing with in the market. Now, Investfusion goes into the tenant information. That's why we told you this tool is it's your own. Think of Investfusion as your forensic report analysis. It's your own tool you use to break down and crystallize details or find properties that meets your own criteria. So it says here that the tenant information are the single tenant. No, you said this, so this is not a single tenant property, which is good. And then the occupancy rate is 100%. Then it goes further and does what they call a risk assessment analysis on the property. It says, based on environmental condition reports, this property has good conditions. Now, is it on a land lease? So a land lease means you don't own the land, you're still paying. So you rent the land, and then of course you're paying mortgage, which is double dipping, which you don't want to incur those kind of losses. So it tells you that no, this land is not on a land lease. There's no property damage. There are no fund. This is very important. Foundation issues. I just told you guys on how I lost close to $11,000 some few months ago without utilizing Investfusion, and that's why we built this tool to resolve that issue. So you want to know, is there any reported foundation issue on that property? And here it says no foundation issues. Is there any property violations? This is the only tool out there, guys. I cannot reiterate this fact over and over again. This is the only tool that does that for you. It said any property violations, Investfusion says no. Then a step further, you want to look at its own investment analysis. What will be its own guide on this property itself? And that's what we want to track and see what it gives to us as a feed on this. Now, while he's doing that, I want to go in here now and walk you guys. If you are new, go to investfusion.co. For the first time, it's going to require that you register your details. By registering means putting your name, your email address, of course, where you are connecting in and all of this good stuff. So because it's not open to the general public right now, once you log in and register, you can have access to the login screen and then to try it out right now. So for you who is brand new watching this right now, if you come to investfusion.co and you see this page, it means it's not ready for the general public. It's only for allowed to a select few. Go in here, put in your name, your last name, your email, and your phone number, and then click submit. Now, as a high level overview, this is what you get for Stephanie. Let me see. Stephanie, this is for you. For residential units, you can see now it's both for residential and multifamily units. It first of all finds discounted properties. That means properties that are 30 or 40% below the market. We've seen properties that are over 90% below the market. That's one. Number two, it looks at location insights. So it identifies properties in income driven location. That means in location where there's disposable income, the tenants there can pay their rents, and then your potential ability for reselling that property when it's time to resell will be very high because you have tenants who have income. The average household income in that location is above the US national average. That's the key word there. And then they can pay rent, and then everything will be good on the end. Then it goes a step further. It does rental profitability reports. So for the rental profitability report, it looks for residential. Listen carefully now. For residential properties, it looks at any property that the seller has not increased rent for the past 5 years. See, it's a flip coin to commercial. For residential, it tracks properties that the owners, sellers, the owner, the property owner, the landlord has not increased rent for the past 5 years. Why? It means the rents are below market rent. So you can go in, do some tweaking to it, just do some cosmetic change, raise the rent, bring it to market. You see, all the equity you're going to sit on will be ridiculous. Bring it to market, and then you can put it up for market for sale, and then you can see easily anywhere from $50,000 to over $200,000 on the right deal once you find a property that makes sense. The next level is, so it identifies motivated seller detection. So it looks for sellers that are really distressed, sellers that are desperate, sellers who wants to sell now. They have reduced their prices multiple times. That's what it tracks. Then this is where InvestFusion stands out. Again, there's nothing to compare because there's no tool out there in the market like this. It gives you a property condition report. It identifies red flags and reports issues like structural damage and foundation problems on the property. So not just that, it looks at environmental violations. Are there any code violations? Before you pay your due diligence fee, saving you thousands of dollars. Listen, your due diligence fee is a negotiable, non-refundable fee that the buyer agrees to pay the seller. We've seen this fee go as high as $10,000 on some commercial property. So would you rather save that money, use InvestFusion to identify, at least from a higher level, any potential red flag? That way you are avoiding any huge losses that you might incur by not utilizing InvestFusion. And that's what stands it out of the rest, standing separately from the rest in the market itself. And that's why we use InvestFusion for this. Now, the next thing is the appraisal verification. So it cross-checks any recorded appraisals against listings to validate the actual living square footage and the actual property value to avoid overpaying. See, this is very important. When you buy a property, what you are paying for is actually the square footage. And that's why the very first output that helps you know if a property is discounted is through its square footage, comparing the living square footage or comparing the price per foot to the market price per foot. You want to buy a property that is the price per foot is below the market. You don't want to buy a property that is above the market. That would be a ridiculous expense. So that's where InvestFusion comes in and gives you that opportunity to do that. So with InvestFusion, your goal is to look at the appraisal report. So it's not you. You're not the one doing the heavy lifting. It's InvestFusion that is doing that for you. It breaks down the previous appraisal report to help you identify the actual living square footage and the value of the property that was previously the previous valuation of the property. Why is this important? It helps you know from the onset what has been the previous value that a licensed appraisal valuated the property for. That's one. Number two, it gives you the incentive or gives you more like a clear direction on how to renegotiate the deal if you are being giving a price that is above the appraised value. You don't want to buy a property above the appraised value, guys. Let me be very clear. You want that's where Investion tracks all of this for you and let you know, guys. Secondly, number 7 pointer it gives you is the investment return calculator. Remember, I said something at the outset. I told you that it looks at one, your current expenses. Your current expenses for a buyer involves your borrowing costs, the interest rate you're paying for this, of course, the cap rate, which we'll look at, in terms of the equity side of things, and then does what they call a return calculator and lets you know if there is cash flow opportunities at the end of the day, if there's built-in equity and then there's cash flow. So you want to buy a property that your net operating income is above your expenses. So you want to have you want to be in profit territory, meaning you want to be green at the end of the day. Green means there's profit. You don't want to be on the red side. You don't want to buy a property that you buy something and then you're losing a lot of money at the end of the day. No, you want to buy a profitable property and then make a lot of money from that. That's very important. So the final thing that it gives you its own score. It gives you an AI investment score and lets you know, is it a buy, is it a hold, or is it a sell recommendation for the sellers? Okay, I'm going to pause now and let's see, guys. You can ask some questions right now, or if you have any question on the multi-family research on investment score, you can ask some questions right now. Let me get your questions on this. If you are watching from YouTube, again, if you're just joining in, give me a hi button, say hi, let me know where you're tuning in from the world. Let me know where you're tuning in from. I will be grateful. We'll give you a spotlight and let you, give you an overview of this. So, guys, it's very important to understand this. Investion is designed for both multi-family units and residential properties. So, for those who are looking to get started with their first single-family property and they say, "Hey, I want a home. I want to buy a home I can live in, but I don't want to buy an overpriced property," you have Investion to find that for you. For those who says, "You know what, Jeff, I want to buy not just one property, but want to buy 2, 3, 4, what they call a duplex, a triplex, or even a quadruplex," you have Investion. It goes to the market and scans the entire market for you and identify any property that is within your region, your area, your state, your zip code that is discounted to the market. So it's all up to you. You can give it a go on what you want, and then it can give it. It will be willing to give you the guide on how to get or property to get started with, basically. Again, guys, if you're watching, let me know where you're tuning in from. Again, let's know where you're tuning in from. So I'm going to go now into commercial property and break down what Investion does differently from others based on commercial property itself. Okay, so let's do this, guys. Let's do this. Now, for commercial properties, number one, it does a breakdown on discounted commercial properties. So it identifies properties that are 30, 40% below the market. That's the first thing. Number two, it looks at what they call the tenant and lease risk. Again, I've explained this a little bit earlier on. So it does what they call identifies risks like early termination clauses. The early termination clauses are government tenants. Government tenants are the ones that can put those clauses in the contract. Investion will read those contracts, guys. If it's hidden between the lines, it will identify those fine prints and let you know with a speed up and let you know if that tenant has early termination right clause included in the document. Sometimes these sellers are very smart. They can give you a 45-page document, like we've seen on HOAs, so that it can get you confused and then you cannot identify this. Don't worry, guys. Investion will help you read out those details and fish out those clauses that can hurt you in the long term. Then it identifies single tenants and also all the potential red flags to avoid. This is just amazing. So it helps you identify, one, risk in the market, and two, it reads the clauses, all the lease terms, lease clauses that were signed, and then lets you know if there's any early termination rights, let you know what the tenant's conditions are, and see all red flags in the market to avoid. That is number two. Now, number three is it looks at the tenant financial health. This is where Investion is very powerful. It reads every tenant in your property. It goes and look at their past 5 years financial history, all their profit levels, gross income, net operating income, expenses, what their filings are to the SEC, every report for the past 5 years, if they are public or they are private. It tracks their report and sees it and looks at a history of growth trajectory. Are these tenants, are they viable financially? Can they pay their rent when it's due? That's what Investution tracks and lets you know if these are tenants you want to keep or if these are tenants you want to get rid of, basically, and let you know, for example. So again, if you're watching on YouTube, sorry, on Instagram, guys, I'm tuning in right now to see your comments. Let me know where you're watching it from the world, and then I can take your let me just give it a shout out to Eating with Boland. Thanks to me, my friend. We've met a couple of times. Satanda Monster, thanks for joining. Humphrey Gordon, 56, Underground Beat Revolution, thanks for joining. Romit Van Life, Oasis. That's pos. I'm sorry, this is too long. I can't pronounce it. Thank you guys for joining. I'm just trying to read through all of those guys. Keep your comments coming in, guys. Give me your comments. Let me know what your comments are, and then I can be able to track those comments for you. Now, so based on this, so back to commercial properties, it tracks the financial health of the properties itself and lets you know the 5-year paying history of that tenant, how profitable they are, to see if you're going to go ahead with this tenant or not. The next tracker for you is the occupancy and the market. So it looks at comparisons. It evaluates property occupancy relative to the local market. So it wants to identify for you a property that is 70 or 80% occupied, basically. Why is it 70 or 80% a key number? I'm going to give you why. If you buy a property, both for commercial or for multi-family units, if you buy a property that is 70% or 80% occupied, it means there's still a 30% window for you to go in there, do your renovations, do your changes, again, these properties would have been discounted. That's why Investution gives you the properties itself. So if the property is already discounted, it's identified those discounted property. Now it's a 70% occupied. It brings it, so you yourself as the buyer will now come into that property, do some cosmetic change. The only changes you are allowed or required to do for a property is painting, flooring, maybe the landscaping. It's not your job to go in and fix the structural damage, foundation issues, foggy windows, roofing. Those are big ticket items. Avoid them like the plague. Unless the seller is willing to assume those costs, then my hands are up. If they're willing to assume the cost, then you can go ahead. So if Investution identifies a property for you that is already below the market, one. Number two, it is 70% occupied. It means you as a buyer, once you go into that property, you have rooms to bring the property to market and then retenant that property itself. And that way you have access to extra funding, and then equity, of course, will be through the roof, because now it is, and again, you're buying it below the market. Number two, you're buying it below the appraised value, not above the appraised value. So by the time you bring that property to market, guess what? You have more equity chunk out from this property itself, just because you do the right thing by using Investution to find these gems in the market, guys. And that's why we said Investution is a gold mine for you, the investor. So that is number two. And that is one of the reasons why we look at this itself. So based on the occupancy and the market, you want to buy something. If you find a gem, listen carefully now. We're not saying this is cast in stone. If you find a gem that is 100% occupied, and you know for a fact Investution has done all its legwork, and you do your own research and everything is just checking all the boxes, yes, you can go ahead and still go ahead and purchase. But you want to make sure that, one, there's equity, two, there's cash flow, three, you have potential. The equity makes a lot of sense, and you're not overpaying, and everything covers. Your profit. You're making profit at the end of the day. That's all that matters. See, the X plus Y in this is equals to profit. That's all that matters, basically. You're profitable, and that's all that matters for us. So the fifth tracker Investution does is to look for properties in high visibility area. This is contrary to residential or multifamily units. How do I mean? In a commercial property, you want to buy a property that is in a high visibility area, meaning high traffic area, close to the roads. The converse is true, or the opposite is true for residential. For residential, you don't want to be by the high traffic areas because it's your home. It's your home. You want to be in a your comfortable area where it's more quiet, more peaceful, all of that good stuff. So, Investvision for commercial property identifies properties in high visibility area. Okay. Now, guys, again, like I said, if you're watching, you have questions, I'm going to take the questions that are coming in. I'm going to try and go through all of those channels and see the questions. Let me just quickly do that again before I continue. Once I see your questions, guys, I'm going to take the questions. I have some coming in from Facebook. Those of you on YouTube, I know we have a lot of guys from YouTube. Give me your questions as well, and then I can take those questions as quickly as I can. Take those questions, okay? So sorry, guys. Let me just pull up these guys again. Okay. Now back to the 6-pointer. The 6-pointer is property condition reports. Why is this important? This is where Investvision distinguishes itself from everything out there, guys. You already know watching this. If you've been in the real estate market for some time, you know this is a huge, huge win. Investvision identifies red flags like structural damage, foundation issues, and code violations before you pay your due diligence fee, saving you thousands of dollars. It's so important for you to understand how powerful this is. Listen, anybody watching this right now that have bought a property, let me know how much you paid for your due diligence fee. Let me know how much you paid for your EMD, your earnest money deposit. Let the viewers know what you paid for inspection. Let them know what you paid for appraisal. Some investors don't even know they have to do inspection, have to do appraisal. They just go, the listing broker just tells them, oh, it's going to sell by the weekend. In fact, they rush in to buy only to realize that they bought a landmine. And then you see a lot of sellers, a lot of buyers right now crying about their mortgage. They cannot pay their mortgage. That's why they are selling properties right now. They are forced to sell their properties because they cannot pay. This is what Investvision prevents you from happening to you guys. It prevents this kind of nightmare. It prevents you from buying a landmine. How? By identifying all of these structural damage or issues before you go in and spend a dime. How powerful is this? That means in the comfort of your own home, in your own bedroom, all you do is to go in there and you just ask it, find me a property in this zip code. Say, for example, 28210. And it goes into 28210 zip code and begins to look for all the properties within that zip code that meets its benchmark. This benchmark we've just described low properties below the market, built-in equity, no red flags, no issues, no foundation issues, good tenants, all of those things that you cannot do physically yourself, it begins to break it down for you and let you know. That's what it does for you in point number 6. For commercial property, it does same thing. It identifies all the red flags that are found in that property and lets you know what that is, and so that you are aware as a buyer. The 7-pointer here is it looks at the investment return reports. So it estimates cash on cash returns, factoring your loan costs, tenant improvement. Tenant improvement means when you buy that property, you now do some changes. The flooring, which is the flooring, painting, maybe some landscaping, just minor cosmetic changes. It factors those in based on current asking price. Then it looks at any potential bridge loans. So you look at the current loans that are in the market. What are the rates of those loans? So it compares the rate of loans in the market to your borrowing cost. And then it calculates, listen carefully, guys, it calculates your borrowing costs, the loan costs, all of your expenses, and look at the cash flow, look at the equity, look at what you stand to gain. If the numbers doesn't make sense, it tells you it's a no. So it will identify all of this heavy lifting for you and only give you potential. Guys, if you're watching on YouTube right now, we have a lot of viewers right now. If you're watching, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the like button. That way you don't miss out on some of these powerful gems we are discussing today. Listen, guys, when you buy a property as an investor, either a multi-family unit or a commercial property, or even a single family unit, what Investvision does separately is to identify your expenses or borrowing costs and compare it to your cash flow and see if the equity itself can compensate for your expenses. That way you stay profitable. Be like the banks. And I keep on repeating this, the banks. Why is this so? Because in any market, in the past 13 years, when I was privileged of discussing financial markets on live television, the way the banks played markets has not changed. Investment principles stay the same. How do I mean? The banks, the big funds, Wall Street wants to buy low, sell high. That is their game plan at all times. No one wants to buy high and then sell low. That's a recipe for disaster. And so you as an investor, you don't have funds to throw away. It's a hard-earned fund. You work hard for these funds. You want to be smart. You want to be savvy. You want to be very savvy when it comes to utilizing your funds and invest it the right way. Now, the two other pointers InvestFusion does for commercial property is it looks at the buyer's market detection. So it identifies when the market is favoring the buyers against a seller's market. Why is this important? If you are in the buyer's market, you have the opportunity of negotiating and renegotiating and giving your own terms in the market. InvestFusion calculates and tracks the market detection reports. Finally, it gives you its own investment score. The investment score is its own summary of the property you're currently analyzing, either a single family unit, which is your own personal property, or the multi-family unit, or even a commercial property, and lets you know its own score and lets you give you an overall perspective of the property you're looking at. So, guys, if you are watching this, first step is to go to investfusion.co. If you've not done that right now, go in and register. Get access. Once you fill out this information, the back support team will be notified about your interest to test InvestFusion, because it's not open to the general public right now. It's only for a select few. Once you fill this information out, we will reach out to you and give you access to test InvestFusion on your own. And that's something you can do at your own convenience. So I've run through this both on the residential side and the commercial side. Now, how it works is simple. It's a 4-step process. Step 1 is to discover a property. That means it helps you find properties that meet its own benchmark using over 38. So right here, I have maybe about 8 pointers because of space, 9 pointers here, and here 8 pointers for residential and multifamily units. But in total, InvestFusion uses about 38 data points, key data points, to track properties. So it does a lot of heavy lifting using high extensive algorithm to find the right deal for you. And once it finds a deal, that means you've already seen the property that is one. All the red flags have been identified. Discounted property, built-in equity, cash flow property. It's at your fingertips. Step number 2 will be, of course, to schedule a visit with your broker, go see the property, and then again, I will recommend this. It's a recommendation. Make sure you do your inspection. You just get the final inspection report, get the final appraisal report to be sure 100% that everything you've learned and InvestFusion has given to you is accurate, and then, of course, it meets the current market data. What it does for you is to prepare you in advance so that if there are reports, you don't go and spend money, because most times the listing broker and the seller will not reveal those truths to you. InvestFusion will let you know in advance if that is a landmine and if it's a no. Plus, it gives you access to negotiate. So if you are in love, which I strongly recommend don't fall in love with the property. But if you are in love with the property and you're so much in love that you have to tell yourself, I must get this property, then InvestFusion will help you identify all potential red flags to give you room for renegotiating with the seller or the owner of the property. So once you're done with the visit itself, do a physical visit, a physical tour, then you finalize the deal. Basically, that means going ahead with your purchase and closing this deal. So guys, we have about 7 more minutes left. Let's see quickly. This is our dashboard. Let me go. Let me just stop sharing right now, and then I'll be able to take some of your questions. If you have some more questions, I'll be able to see that on the dashboard here as well. Again, let me know where you're watching from, and let me know if you have any other questions. Please, guys, let me know, and then we'll be able to track those questions that you have, and we can be able to resolve them. See, listen carefully, guys. One thing is very clear. The US market is going through a deep we're going through a recession right now where we are seeing a lot of condos. States like Florida are hard hit. Sellers are currently putting their houses on the market. It means it's creating room for you to find deals. Those deals can be found only through Invest Fusion. I repeat, only through Invest Fusion. You can find listings, yes, on other sites. You can find listings on Zillow, Craigslist, LoopNet, just name it. You can find listings. But to find a deal that is discounted to the market, a deal that has built-in equity, a deal that identifies all the red flag is what you use in InvestFusion. Now, with InvestFusion, once you find those deals, it means that you want to identify those deals and then price it below the market. Have room for further discounts. That's the quality of what you have. So with this, it helps you know what to do, how to go into a deal, and how to renegotiate with the sellers. If you are watching on Instagram, please join us on YouTube because the live on Instagram will end in about 5 minutes. Please again go to Invest Fusion AI. Just go on YouTube and search for Invest Fusion AI. You will see us live, and then you can tune into the live feed on YouTube. So this is very important, guys. I'm very passionate about this, and that's why, based on my personal experience, I said, listen, I'm going to share my experience with you guys and let you understand why we created InvestFusion and why the book behind me, the 30% rule, is a key indicator. This is the book you must read. If you are a beginner in real estate, the 30% rule is a book I recommend. Go on Amazon, just go in and get your hands on this book, guys. You would love reading this book itself. It's a book, it's an eye-opener on the market and lets you know what to do when it comes to investment. Again, let me run through, let me see if there's any questions coming in, the last questions. For those who are on Instagram, guys, make sure to tune in to YouTube again, and then we'll be able to connect on YouTube. Elizabeth, thanks for joining. Dashmin Queen 90, thanks for joining. If you're joining, let me know where you're tuning in from the world. Let me know where you're tuning in. And then if you have your questions, this is a Q&A opportunity. This is your opportunity for you to ask me any questions you have. I said before, if your challenge is, if you are dealing with issues of funding, if that's your challenge, we have that covered. If your challenge is, oh, my credit score is so poor right now, I don't have access to fund, I need to build my credit score, I need to build my fund, I need access to funding, what do I do? We have you covered, guys. We have you covered. All of those are what we have you covered for in this platform. So you have that taken care of. So at the point in time where you have a good credit score and then you have access to funding, then you can have funding from $50,000 into your LLC to $100,000. At that kind of capacity, you can buy even a commercial property that's over $1 million using equity already from the sellers, and then you can play the market the big way. Listen, in here right now, what we're doing is showing you the ropes. You can still play the low level. Low level is still multi-family units. To go the big level is where we play with commercial properties. That's the big boy league. That's the big boy league. And that's why you need tools like InvestFusion. There is no other tool on commercial property out there, period. Nothing on commercial property besides listings. So only InvestFusion can break down commercial properties equity, value, red flag, and let you know the good deals from the bad deals. This is how investors go from $0 to $100 million in real estate through commercial properties. And to do that, you must first of all test the waters with multi-family units. You cannot just jump in. It's like a baby giving birth today. You can't just get started today as a beginner and jump into commercial properties. No, you got to start slow. You got to start small. You got to start with maybe a single farm or a multi-family unit, and then gravitate slowly into commercial property. Maybe starting with a grocery store. Something that's very simple: 2, 3, 4 tenants, grocery store, good discounted property, good area, and then you can be able to take it from there and then go into the big league. Listen, the real estate market is a sure banger for wealth. Everyone knows that already. No, it's not even a question. The question, however, is how do I identify where to find the right deal? How to avoid all red flags? How to avoid hidden dangers? If you are risk averse like me, I'm risk averse. If you have risk aversion and you want to prevent that kind of risk from impacting you, then you have to use InvestFusion. Guys, the live on YouTube will end in about 1 minute. Please, if you're live on YouTube, on Instagram, if you're live on Instagram, tune into YouTube right now. That's where you can have access to more of what we're discussing right here on YouTube, guys. So this is very powerful, guys. Again, I said, let me have your questions on those on Facebook. Let me go to Facebook right now and uh, give a shout out to those ones who are with us. And let's see where you're watching it from. Our friends on YouTube, again, don't forget to hit the like button. So any other questions you have, guys, give me the questions. If you have any questions on real estate impacting more specifically the US markets, let me know, and then we can take it up from here as well. So if you are joining me, let me do a few recap. If you are just joining for the first time, guys, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the like button. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, specifically at about 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we release new content, new videos on YouTube to give you an overview of how the market works. That's number one. Number two, on Instagram, make sure to follow me on Instagram, Jeff Emalaba. That is at Jeff Emalaba on Instagram. I produce daily tidbits, news reactions, stories, reels on the market itself. Is there anything new on the market? Life like this. That way you can get to communicate with me, ask me questions. You have any doubts, you have any challenges, you want to resolve those challenges, you have any questions. That's your opportunity on Instagram to ask those questions, and then I can respond. I respond to those questions personally. So I will see your questions and I'll respond to your questions and then resolve those questions with you. That's where you're not left to walk alone. A lot of buyers just look at their listing broker and just accept what they are told. They never had tools like this. And that's why you see a lot of buyers. Some are homeless right now in Florida. We've seen just this morning alone, I saw a lady of over 81 years old, homeless in Florida. Listen, guys, most investors cannot pay their rent, their mortgages anymore. And that's the reality. Why? Because of what we're seeing with the rates. And so you want to go into a deal this deal has equity. So you want a tool that prevents you from even buying a deal you cannot be able to compensate for. So you want to avoid all of those red flags, avoid all of those issues. That way, from the get-go, from day one, you have cash flow, you have equity, you have room for making minor the word is minor changes to the property, and then you can push up the rate, increase the rate, increase the rent, and then you can be cash flowing, guys. That's what you want to do with an investment. Again, guys, join me on Instagram. Make sure to subscribe also to our channel on YouTube, and of course, hit the like button. Share our videos on Instagram to your friends. Let them know that this content we're producing is for everyone. The first thing, again, if you've not done this already, go to investfusion.co and make sure to register for access to testing InvestFusion. All right. I think we've resolved all questions. For a final recap, I'm going to go through all of the channels and make sure I'm not leaving anyone behind. Again, a big thank you to Lois, a big thank you to Blocks Fruits for tuning in. Also, our friend in Canada, Tega, thanks for joining as well. And then those who join in from Instagram, I know your life should have ended by now, should have ended. So, guys, thanks for joining in. Listen, we'll try to do this every other week to help you guys understand the concept. So if you have any questions before then, you have any questions you're thinking about, just hit me, give me your questions before we go live, and then we can be able to identify and answer your questions. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you have fun today with me. Until next time, stay blessed and enjoy yourself, guys. Thanks for watching, guys.